Hyunwoo Park walked through the bright hallways of Kepler Station, holding his daughter's small hand. So Young skipped beside him, her school bag bouncing on her back. The 8-year-old girl loved living on the space station. She could see 3 different suns from her bedroom window, and alien traders from across the galaxy came here to do business. "Dad, will you pick me up after school?" So Young asked, looking up at her father with big brown eyes. "Of course," Hyunwoo smiled. "I'll be done with the meeting by then. We can get ice cream from that shop you like." So Young grinned and ran toward her classroom. Hyunwoo watched her go, feeling proud. His work as a scientist studying alien plants was important, but nothing mattered more than his little girl. They had lived on Kepler Station for 2 years now, ever since his wife died in an accident back on Earth. This place felt like home. The space station was huge, spinning slowly to create gravity. Humans lived in one section while aliens had their own areas. The Vorthak were tall, reptile-like creatures with green scales and sharp teeth. The Nexari looked like walking crystals that sparkled in the light. Everyone got along well most of the time. Hyunwoo made his way to the meeting room. Today, representatives from Earth, the Vorthak Empire, and the Nexari Collective would discuss trade agreements. These talks happened every few months to keep peace between the species. Hyunwoo was there because both alien races wanted to buy special plants that only grew on human worlds. Commander Thekvar arrived first. The Vorthak leader was bigger than most of his kind, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that seemed to look right through people. He had a reputation for being difficult in negotiations. His soldiers followed him everywhere, carrying energy weapons that could burn through metal. "Human," Thekvar said in his rough voice when he saw Hyunwoo. "I hope you bring better offers than last time." "We're here to find fair deals for everyone," Hyunwoo replied politely. He had learned to stay calm around difficult aliens. The Nexari representative glided into the room. Jinara was made of blue crystal that hummed softly when she moved. Her people were usually peaceful and reasonable. "Greetings, friends. Shall we begin?" The meeting started well. They talked about shipping routes, prices for rare metals, and which plants the aliens needed most. Hyunwoo explained how human farmers could grow more of the healing flowers that the Nexari loved. Everything seemed normal. Then Thekvar's mood changed. He slammed his clawed hand on the table, making everyone jump. "These prices are too high. Humans think they can cheat us because we need your plants." "The prices are fair," Hyunwoo said carefully. "Growing these plants takes time and special care. Our farmers work hard. Your farmers are weak," Thekvar roared, standing up. His soldiers moved closer, hands on their weapons. "The Vorthak Empire could take what we want. We don't need to pay human prices." Jinara's crystal body flashed red, a sign of worry. "Commander, please calm down. We have traded peacefully for many years." But Thekvar was already too angry to listen. "Peaceful? Humans are soft. They live in their safe stations and think they matter in this galaxy. You are nothing. Just 3 small systems with weak ships." Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his voice steady. "We don't want conflict. We just want fair trade, and there will be no trade." Thekvar shouted, "We take what we need." He turned to his soldiers and hissed something in the Vorthak language. They nodded and left the room quickly. Warning lights began flashing. The station's computer voice announced, "Security alert in residential Sector 7. All civilians report to safe areas immediately." Hyunwoo's blood turned cold. Sector 7 was where the families lived, where So Young was at school. He ran from the meeting room, not caring about the trade talks anymore. His daughter was in danger. The hallways were full of running people. Human families carried small children and bags of belongings. Some aliens looked confused, not understanding what was happening. The Vorthak soldiers were moving through the station with their weapons out, shooting at anything that moved. Hyunwoo reached the school just as explosions rocked the building. The Vorthak were using their plasma weapons on civilian areas. Children were screaming. Teachers tried to protect their students, but they had no weapons to fight back with. "So Young," Hyunwoo called out, searching through the chaos. He found her hiding under a desk with her teacher and 3 other children. Tears ran down her face, but she wasn't hurt. "Dad," she cried, running to him. He picked her up and held her tight. "We have to go," he told the teacher. "The emergency pods are this way." They ran through corridors filled with smoke and the sound of energy weapons. Vorthak soldiers were everywhere, laughing as they destroyed everything humans had built. They seemed to enjoy the fear they were causing. A plasma bolt hit the wall right next to them. Hyunwoo pushed So Young behind him as more soldiers appeared around the corner. "Human insects," one of them shouted. "Time to burn." Hyunwoo grabbed his daughter and ran. Behind them, the soldiers fired their weapons, burning holes in the metal walls. The heat from the plasma made the air shimmer. They reached the emergency pod area, but more Vorthak were already there. "Get in the pod," Hyunwoo told So Young, pushing her toward one of the small escape ships. "Lock the door and don't come out no matter what happens." "Dad, no. Come with me. I will. I just need to make sure you're safe first." The Vorthak soldiers saw them. They raised their weapons and fired. Hyunwoo threw himself in front of the pod door, taking the plasma bolts meant for his daughter. The energy burned through his body, but he managed to seal the pod and hit the launch button. As the pod shot away from the station, Hyunwoo fell to the floor. His body was badly burned, but he used his last strength to activate his emergency transmitter. He knew the message would reach Earth. "This is Hyunwoo Park on Kepler Station," he whispered into the device. "The Vorthak have attacked civilian areas. They killed innocent people for no reason. They laughed while they murdered us. My daughter, protect our children. Don't let them do this to other families." The plasma burns were too severe. Hyunwoo died in that corridor, but his message was already traveling through space toward Earth. In a few hours, 12 billion humans would learn that one of their own had died protecting his child from alien monsters. The Vorthak soldiers finished their attack and returned to their ships. Commander Thekvar told the galaxy that it was an accident during security operations. He said humans had threatened Vorthak lives, so they had to defend themselves. But deep in space, a small escape pod drifted toward the nearest human outpost. Inside, 8-year-old So Young Park cried for her father and waited for rescue. She didn't know it yet, but her father's death would change everything. Admiral Mirai Kim stood in the command center of Earth's lunar base, watching the emergency transmission for the 10th time. Every time she heard Hyunwoo Park's dying words, her hands clenched tighter. Around her, dozens of military officers stared at their screens in shocked silence. "Play it again," she ordered. The hologram showed the burning corridors of Kepler Station. Vorthak soldiers laughed as they shot at fleeing families. The recording was shaky because Hyunwoo had been badly injured when he made it, but every word was clear. "They killed civilians. They killed us for nothing. Protect our children." Admiral Kim had served in the Terran Defense Fleet for 20 years. She had seen wars between alien species, trade disputes, and border conflicts. But she had never seen anything like this. The Vorthak had attacked a peaceful station and murdered innocent people, including children. "Ma'am," said Captain Bo-Ram Lee, her second in command, "we're getting reports from all human colonies. People are angry. They want to know what we're going to do about this." "What's the status of the survivors?" Admiral Kim asked. 43 humans dead, including Hyunwoo Park, 27 injured. The girl, So Young, was rescued by a patrol ship 6 hours ago. "She's physically okay, but—" Captain Lee's voice trailed off. Admiral Kim nodded. A child watching her father die to save her would carry those scars forever. The Vorthak had done more than kill Hyunwoo Park. They had destroyed a family and traumatized a little girl who would never feel completely safe again. "Get me President Cho," Admiral Kim ordered. The communication screen lit up, showing President Jae-sung Cho in his office on Earth. The leader of humanity looked tired and angry. Behind him through the window, Admiral Kim could see protesters gathering in the streets of Seoul. They carried signs demanding justice for the Kepler Station victims. "Admiral," President Cho said, "I've been watching the news feeds. Our people are furious. Every human colony is calling for action against the Vorthak Empire. What are your orders, sir?" President Cho was quiet for a moment. "Call an emergency meeting of the Human Council. Every governor, every fleet commander, every colonial administrator. I want them all here within 12 hours. Sir, some of our colonies are weeks away by normal travel. Then they'll use the fast ships," President Cho said firmly. "This is not a normal situation. A human father died protecting his child from alien monsters. Every human in the galaxy needs to understand what that means." Admiral Kim felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard that tone in the president's voice only once before, during the war games that tested Earth's hidden defenses. "Yes, sir. I'll send the recall codes immediately." Across human space, ships began moving. Colonial governors left their planets on fast courier vessels. Fleet admirals abandoned training, exercises, and jumped toward Earth. Research, Station commanders handed over their work to assistants and traveled through dangerous asteroid fields to reach the Sol system quickly. Dr. Dong Hyun Yang received the emergency message while studying alien technology on a research station near Proxima Centauri. He was Earth's leading expert on Vorthak culture and psychology. The message was only 3 words long: Council, emergency, now. Yang had been expecting this call for years. He packed his research notes and boarded the fastest ship available. During the journey to Earth, he reviewed everything he knew about the Vorthak Empire. They were proud, aggressive, and believed that strength was the only thing that mattered. They respected only those who could fight back harder than they could attack. The Vorthak had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were weak because they preferred peace. They didn't understand that choosing peace was very different from being unable to fight. On Earth, construction crews worked around the clock to prepare for the emergency session. The council chamber in Geneva was expanded to hold representatives from every human settlement. Security teams swept the building for listening devices. No alien observers would be allowed at this meeting. Admiral Kim arrived at Earth just as the sun was setting over the Swiss mountains. She had brought her entire command staff and the complete files on something called Project Prometheus. Those files were locked in a case that required 3 different keys to open. Only 5 people in human space had those keys. President Cho met her at the spaceport. "How bad is it going to be?" he asked as they walked toward the waiting vehicles. "That depends on what the council decides," Admiral Kim replied. "But Mr. President, if we're really going to respond to this attack, there are things the galaxy doesn't know about human capabilities. Things we've kept secret for a very good reason. Tell me." Admiral Kim looked around to make sure no one could overhear them. "Sir, we've been preparing for something like this since we first met alien species. Not because we wanted war, but because we knew other species might not share our values about protecting civilians." She handed him a data pad with classified information. President Cho read it while they drove through the city. His face grew pale as he scrolled through the technical specifications and production numbers. "This many ships? This many weapons? How long have you been building all of this?" 25 years, sir. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt. Research facilities on the dark side of the moon. Every human colony has been contributing resources and personnel. We told ourselves it was just insurance, just in case we ever needed to defend our families. President Cho stared out the window at the city lights. "And now we do need it?" "Yes, sir. The Vorthak Empire has 40 systems and thinks they're the strongest military force in the galaxy. They're about to learn that they've never seen what humans can do when someone threatens our children." The council chamber filled up as representatives arrived from across human space. Governor Kyung-ho Choi came from the mining colonies in the Alpha Centauri system. Admiral Soo-jin Park, sister of the murdered Hyun-woo Park, flew in from the outer patrol fleets. Dr. Young-sik Bae, head of human military research, brought briefing materials that had been classified since the first contact with alien species. When everyone was seated, President Cho stood up. The chamber fell completely silent. "Fellow humans," he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the room, "we are here because one of our own died protecting his child from alien attackers. Hyun-woo Park was a scientist, a father, and a good man who never hurt anyone. The Vorthak Empire murdered him and 42 other innocent people for no reason, except to show their strength." Angry murmurs filled the chamber. Admiral Park stood up, her face hard with grief and rage. "My brother died saving his daughter. The Vorthak soldiers laughed while they killed civilians. They must pay for what they've done." "They will," President Cho promised. "But first we need to decide exactly what that payment will look like. Dr. Bae, please explain our options." Dr. Bae activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images of ships, weapons, and military installations appeared in the air. The representatives gasped as they saw the true extent of human military preparation. "For 25 years, we have been building the tools we hoped we would never need to use," Dr. Bae explained. "We have ships that can appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. We have weapons that can crack planets or destroy entire fleets. We have been preparing for the day when someone would force us to defend our families." Governor Choi leaned forward in his seat. "How many ships?" 12,000 combat vessels of various classes. 2,000 of them are larger and more powerful than anything the Vorthak Empire has ever built." The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. No one except the military leadership had known the true scale of human preparations. President Cho raised his hand for silence. "The question before us is simple. What do we do with this power? Do we use it to get justice for Hyunwoo Park and the other victims? Do we show the galaxy that attacking human families has consequences? Admiral Kim stood up. Mr. President, members of the Council, I have served in our defense forces my entire adult life. I have always hoped we would never need to use our full capabilities. But the Vorthak Empire has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. They killed a father in front of his child. They murdered civilians for sport. If we do nothing, every alien species will think humans are weak. Our children will never be safe. Then we're agreed, President Cho said. Dr. Yang, you'll deliver our demands to the Vorthak Empire. They have 72 hours to surrender Commander Thekvar and his officers for trial. They will pay compensation to the families of everyone killed or injured, and they will publicly admit that their attack was wrong. Dr. Yang nodded. And if they refuse? President Cho's expression was harder than steel. Then they'll learn why humans are the only species that ever turned nuclear fire into a power source and kept building bigger bombs just to see if they could. They'll discover what happens when you threaten the children of a species that conquered its own planet before it could even leave its solar system. The vote was unanimous. Every human representative agreed that the Vorthak Empire would face consequences for their attack. As the council members left the chamber, Admiral Kim looked at the holographic display still showing human weapons of war. In 72 hours, the galaxy would see what humanity really looked like when someone hurt their children. Ambassador Dong-Hyun Yang stood before the Galactic Trade Council, holding a datapad with humanity's demands. The Great Chamber on the neutral station of Harmony Point was filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. The Vorthak delegation sat in the front row, looking smug and confident. Commander Thekvar lounged in his chair, his green scales gleaming under the bright lights. He had not even bothered to clean the human blood from his armor after the attack on Kepler Station. Other Vorthak officers whispered jokes to each other, acting like the murder of 43 civilians was something to laugh about. Honored representatives, Yang began, his voice calm and professional. I speak for all human colonies and the government of Earth. 3 days ago, Vorthak forces attacked civilian areas of Kepler Station without provocation. They murdered 43 innocent people, including children and families. The chamber was quiet. Most aliens had heard rumors about the attack. But this was the first official statement from humanity. Yang continued. The Vorthak Empire has 72 hours to surrender Commander Thekvar and all officers involved in this attack for trial under galactic law. They will pay compensation to the families of those killed and injured, and they will publicly admit their actions were war crimes. Laughter erupted from the Vorthak section. Thekvar stood up, his massive frame towering over the other delegates. The human speaks of demands. Your species controls 3 tiny systems with weak ships and no real military. You dare to threaten the Vorthak Empire? We do not threaten, Yang replied quietly. We simply state consequences. Consequences? Thekvar roared. What consequences can you insects provide? Your entire fleet could not defeat one Vorthak battle group. The Nexari representative, Jinara, flashed red with concern. Perhaps we should discuss this calmly. Violence serves no one's interests. There is nothing to discuss, said General Heckmore, the Vorthak military commander. These humans think they matter in galactic affairs. They are 0.3% of the galaxy's population. Their 3 systems produce nothing we cannot take by force. Yang looked around the chamber. He saw pity in some alien faces, amusement in others. None of them understood what humanity was capable of when their families were threatened. 72 hours, Yang repeated. Then he left the chamber without another word. The aliens talked among themselves after he was gone. Most agreed that humans were being foolish. The Vorthak Empire had 40 star systems, thousands of warships, and billions of soldiers. What could 3 human colonies possibly do against such power? They were about to find out. 68 hours later, Admiral Kyung-ho Choi sat in the command center of the battleship Earth's Fury. Around him, his officers watched their screens as 3 separate strike forces moved into position. Each group targeted a different Vorthak military installation. All ships report ready, said Captain Taemansong. Gravitational disruptors are charged. Quantum torpedoes are armed. All personnel are secured. Admiral Choi thought about Hyunwoo Park dying in a corridor to save his daughter. He thought about So-Young Park, now an orphan because alien monsters had decided to murder civilians for fun. Signal all groups, he ordered. Operation begins now. 300 light-years away, the Vorthak military base at Kethador was preparing for a normal day. The base commander, Colonel Victar, was one of the officers who had been at Kepler Station. He was eating breakfast and laughing with his subordinates about how easy it had been to kill human civilians. Then space around the base began to bend. The first sign was the stars moving in impossible directions. Then gravity started pulling in ways that hurt to think about. The Vorthak soldiers looked up at their sensors and saw something that made no sense. 12 human ships had appeared out of nowhere. Not from hyperspace or through normal travel, but from some kind of space folding that shouldn't have been possible. The ships were bigger than anything in Vorthak records, and they were charging weapons that made the base's detectors scream warnings. Impossible, Colonel Victar whispered. Humans don't have ships like that. The human fleet leader's voice came over all communication channels. This is Admiral Choi of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have 60 seconds to evacuate this base before we remove it from existence. You cannot threaten a Vorthak military installation. Victor shouted back, "Our fleet will crush you." 50 seconds. Victar tried to call for help, but something was wrong with their communications. The human ships were using some kind of jamming technology that blocked all signals to other Vorthak bases. 40 seconds. Some of the younger Vorthak soldiers started running for the escape pods. Victar screamed at them to return to their posts, but they had seen the readings on the human weapons. Those ships could destroy their entire base with a single shot. 30 seconds, we are evacuating. Victar finally yelled. "Don't fire. We are leaving." "Too late," Admiral Choi replied. "You should have thought about consequences before you murdered civilians." The Kethador base simply vanished. One moment it was there, a massive structure that housed 5,000 Vorthak soldiers. The next moment, there was only empty space where it used to be. The human ships had created a localized gravitational collapse that turned the entire base into a tiny black hole, then dispersed that black hole safely. At the same time, similar attacks hit 2 other Vorthak installations. The base at Mordek was dissolved by nanobots that turned metal into molecular dust. The Vorthak soldiers watched in horror as their weapons, their ships, and their buildings crumbled to nothing in minutes. The third base, at Vexhar, evacuated successfully when human ships appeared. But the message was clear. Humanity could strike anywhere, anytime, with weapons that seemed like magic to other species. News of the attacks spread across the galaxy within hours. 3 major Vorthak military bases had been destroyed or neutralized by human forces that appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. On the Vorthak homeworld of Korth Prime, Emperor Gekvar called an emergency meeting of his war council. The massive reptilian ruler was Thekvar's father, and he was furious that humans had dared to attack his empire. "How did they do this?" he demanded. "Our scouts report that human ships can only travel at normal speeds. They have no weapons that could threaten our bases." General Heckmore studied the battle reports with growing confusion. "My lord, these were not normal human ships. They used technology we don't understand, some kind of space folding for movement and weapons that manipulate gravity itself." "Impossible. Humans are a weak species. Perhaps we have underestimated them," suggested Admiral Zektul, the eldest member of the War Council. "These attacks were very precise. They only targeted bases where personnel from the Kepler Station attack were stationed. They are not making random strikes." Emperor Gekvar's yellow eyes narrowed. "Are you saying they know exactly who was involved in that minor security action?" "It appears so, my lord. They seem to want specific individuals, not territory or resources." "Then they can want all they like," the Emperor roared. "The Vorthak Empire does not surrender its warriors to alien insects. Prepare the Grand Fleet. We will crush these humans once and for all." But even as he gave the order, Emperor Gekvar felt a cold fear in his chest. The human attacks had been too precise, too advanced. How long had they been hiding this technology? What else were they capable of? In human space, Admiral Mirai Kim received the reports from all 3 strike forces. Every target had been neutralized with 0 human casualties. More importantly, they had sent a message that would reach every corner of the galaxy. "Status of the Vorthak response?" she asked. "Their Grand Fleet is mobilizing," reported Captain Lee. 300 ships, including their most powerful dreadnoughts. They're heading for the Sol system. Admiral Kim smiled grimly. "Good, let them come to us. It's time they learned what Earth looks like when we're really angry." She activated her command console and sent a message to every human ship in the galaxy. This is Admiral Kim. The Vorthak Empire has chosen war over justice. All ships are to converge on Earth immediately. We're going to show these aliens what happens when you make humanity choose between peace and protecting our children. Across human space, thousands of ships began moving toward Earth. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt opened their doors. Secret weapons platforms around Mars powered up their systems. Jupiter's moons revealed construction facilities that had been building warships for 25 years. The Vorthak Grand Fleet thought they were coming to crush 3 weak human systems. Instead, they were flying into a trap that would teach the entire galaxy to respect human families. Commander Thekvar, aboard the flagship Dominant Fury, looked forward to finishing what he had started at Kepler Station. He had no idea that his attack on civilians had awakened something in humanity that had been sleeping since their violent days on Earth. The galaxy was about to see what humans were really like when someone hurt their children. The Vorthak Grand Fleet approached the Sol system expecting to find a few dozen human ships hiding behind their planets. Emperor Gekvar had sent his finest commanders and 300 of the Empire's most powerful warships. This would be a quick victory that would teach all species not to challenge Vorthak might. Commander Thekvar stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominant Fury, watching the tactical display. "Soon I will finish what I started at that pathetic station," he said to his officers. "These humans think they can demand justice for their dead insects. They will learn what real power looks like." Admiral Heckmore, the fleet commander, was more cautious. "Sir, the human attacks on our bases showed technology we don't understand. Perhaps we should approach more carefully." "Bah," Thekvar spat. "3 lucky strikes with hidden weapons. Once we crush their fleet, they will surrender everything." But as the Vorthak fleet entered the outer edge of the Sol system, their sensors began picking up readings that made no sense. There were energy signatures coming from everywhere, behind asteroids, around the gas giants, even from the direction of the human sun itself. "Admiral," called the sensor operator, his voice shaking, "I'm reading ship signatures throughout the system. Hundreds of them." "Impossible," Heckmore said. "Our intelligence reports show humans have maybe 50 combat-capable vessels." The operator checked his readings again. "Sir, I count 2,000 ships, and they're all moving toward us." On the bridge of the human flagship Terra's Wrath, Fleet Admiral Taemin Song watched the Vorthak fleet realize what they had flown into. Around him, his officers coordinated the movements of the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. "Signal from Admiral Kim," reported Communications Officer Haewon Nam. "All fleet groups are in position. The Vorthak are completely surrounded." Admiral Song nodded. Behind Jupiter, 600 human battleships waited in formation. Near Mars, another 400 ships emerged from hidden bases built into the planet's moons. From the asteroid belt came 800 more vessels, including massive dreadnoughts that had been constructed in secret over 25 years. "Open communications to the Vorthak fleet," Song ordered. His image appeared on screens throughout the Vorthak formation. The alien commanders stared in shock at the calm human officer, who had just revealed that their empire was outnumbered by more than 6-1. "I am Fleet Admiral Song of the Terran Defense Force," he began. "You came here to punish humanity for demanding justice. Instead, you have flown into the home system of a species that has been preparing for this moment since we first met other races." Emperor Gekvar's face appeared on the reply channel, his reptilian features twisted with rage and fear. "Impossible. You cannot have this many ships. Our scouts watched your systems for years." "Your scouts saw what we wanted them to see," Admiral Song replied calmly. "We have been building in places you never thought to look. Every asteroid mining operation, every research station, every trade facility has been contributing to our defense for decades." Commander Thekvar pushed his emperor aside and snarled into the camera. "Numbers mean nothing. Vorthak warriors are worth 10 human cowards each." Admiral Song's expression didn't change. "We are here for you, Commander Thekvar, and for every officer who participated in the massacre at Kepler Station. Surrender them to us and your fleet can leave intact." "Never," Thekvar roared. "I will see every human dead before I surrender to insects. Then you will see what insects can do when you threaten their children." The battle began not with a massive exchange of fire, but with a demonstration that made the Vorthak fleet understand just how outmatched they were. Admiral Song ordered a single human ship to engage one of the smaller Vorthak vessels. The human ship, the cruiser Park's Vengeance, moved in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. It appeared in 3 different places at once, firing weapons that the Vorthak had never seen before. The enemy ship's shields collapsed instantly and its weapon system simply stopped working. "What did you do?" Admiral Heckmore demanded over the communications channel. "Quantum phase technology," explained Dr. Bo-Ram Lee from her position on the human flagship. "We can exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Your weapons cannot hit targets that aren't completely in normal space." But the real shock came when Captain Young-Sik Bay, commanding the Park's Vengeance, demonstrated their boarding capability. Human Marines in advanced armor simply appeared inside the Vorthak ship, having been teleported directly through the hull. "Impossible," screamed the Vorthak captain as human soldiers secured his bridge in minutes. "No species has teleportation technology." "No known species," Captain Bay corrected. "Humans have been working on things we don't share with the galactic community." The captured Vorthak ship was released with its crew unharmed, but the message was clear. Every vessel in the Vorthak fleet could be boarded and captured without humanity firing a single shot. Emperor Gekvar stared at the tactical display in growing horror. His ships were surrounded by a human force that was not only larger but also more advanced than anything the Vorthak Empire had ever faced. "How long?" he whispered. "How long have you been planning this?" Admiral Song's voice came over the communication channel, calm and patient. "Since the day we first met alien species, we have been preparing for the possibility that someone would threaten human families. We hoped it would never be necessary. You have made it necessary. You cannot defeat the entire Vorthak Empire," Heckmore protested. "We have 40 systems, billions of soldiers." "We don't want your empire," Admiral Song replied. "We want the individuals responsible for murdering innocent civilians. Give us Commander Thekvar and his officers, and this ends peacefully." Commander Thekvar's response was to order his personal squadron to attack the nearest human ships. It was the last mistake he would ever make as a free being. The human vessels didn't just defend themselves. They demonstrated capabilities that made Vorthak technology look primitive. Some ships created artificial black holes that absorbed incoming fire and redirected it back at the attackers. Others split into dozens of smaller vessels that swarmed the Vorthak ships like angry insects. But the most terrifying demonstration came when Captain Sujin Park, sister of the murdered Hyunwoo Park, revealed what human ships could do to technology itself. Her vessel, the Hyunwoo's memory, fired a weapon that didn't destroy the enemy ship, but instead reprogrammed every computer system aboard it. "Your weapons now refuse to fire at human targets," she announced to the Vorthak crew. "Your life support systems will shut down if you make any hostile moves. Your engines will only work to take you away from human space." The Vorthak soldiers aboard that ship tried desperately to regain control of their systems, but human computer viruses had taken over everything. Their own ship had become their prison. Emperor Gekvar realized that his grand fleet was not in a battle. It was in a demonstration. The humans were showing the galaxy exactly what they could do to any species that threatened their families. They could disable entire fleets without killing anyone, capture ships without firing shots, and turn enemy technology against itself. "Enough," he finally called out. "What do you want?" "Commander Thekvar and every officer who participated in the Kepler station attack," Admiral Song repeated. "They will face trial for war crimes. The rest of your fleet can leave. And if I refuse?" Captain Nam's voice came over a private channel to the Vorthak flagship. "Then we demonstrate what these weapons can do to planets. Would you like to see what happens when we use gravitational disruptors on a world's core?" Emperor Gekvar looked around his bridge at officers who were no longer meeting his eyes. The demonstration had shown them that continuing this fight would mean the destruction of everything they had built. "Commander Thekvar," he said quietly, "you will surrender yourself to the humans." "Never," Thekvar snarled. "I would rather die than submit to these insects." "Then you will die," his emperor replied coldly. "But you will not take the Empire with you." 2 hours later, human Marines boarded the Vorthak flagship and placed Commander Thekvar and 17 of his officers under arrest. The Vorthak soldiers offered no resistance. They had seen what human technology could do and knew that fighting was pointless. As the arrested officers were transferred to human ships, Admiral Song made one final announcement to the Vorthak fleet. You came here to punish humanity for demanding justice. Instead, you have learned that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when someone threatens our children. Remember this lesson. Share it with every species you encounter. The next time someone thinks about harming human families, remind them what happened here today. The Vorthak Grand Fleet turned and fled toward their own space, carrying news that would change how every alien species viewed humanity. The beings they had thought were weak traitors were actually the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Tekvar, locked in a human prison ship, finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. By attacking civilians, he had awakened something in humanity that should have stayed sleeping. Now the entire galaxy would know that Earth's children were protected by the most terrifying military force in known space. The age of underestimating humans was over. 6 months after the confrontation in the Sol system, Commander Tekvar stood in chains before the Galactic Justice Tribunal on Harmony Point. The Great Chamber was packed with representatives from every known species, all watching as humanity demonstrated what real justice looked like. Judge Yansu Kang, the first human ever elected to lead the tribunal, read the charges in a clear, steady voice. Commander Tekvar, you are accused of the murder of 43 civilians, including children, during an unprovoked attack on Kepler Station. You are also charged with war crimes against non-combatants and violation of the Galactic Peace Accords. Tekvar's yellow eyes burned with hatred as he looked at his human judges. Even in chains, he tried to maintain his arrogance. I am a warrior of the Vorthak Empire. I do not recognize the authority of lesser species. The evidence will determine your guilt or innocence, Judge Kang replied calmly. Your opinions about other species are irrelevant to the facts. For 3 weeks, the trial proceeded with careful precision. Human prosecutors presented recordings from Kepler Station that showed Vorthak soldiers laughing as they shot fleeing families. They played Hyunwoo Park's final message, his dying words asking Earth to protect the children. The galaxy watched every moment. Never before had an alien military commander been held accountable for attacking civilians of another species. Most conflicts ended with political agreements and hidden payments. This time, humanity insisted on public justice. Dr. Janara, the Nexari representative, testified about the peace negotiations that had preceded the attack. Commander Tekvar became violent when trade discussions did not go his way, she said, her crystal body flashing blue with sadness. He ordered his soldiers to send a message by attacking civilian areas. When Tekvar's own officers testified, they revealed the true nature of their commander. He told us to make the humans suffer, said Lieutenant Vekmore, one of the soldiers who had participated in the attack. He said their children should learn to fear the Vorthak Empire. The most powerful moment came when 8-year-old So-Young Park testified via hologram from Earth. The little girl, now living with her aunt Admiral Sujin Park, told the court about watching her father die to save her. Daddy put me in the escape pod, she said in a small voice that carried clearly through the silent chamber. He told me he would come with me, but the bad aliens hurt him. He stayed outside so I could be safe. Even some of the Vorthak observers shifted uncomfortably as they watched a human child describe her father's murder. Tekvar stared at the floor, unable to meet the eyes of the girl he had orphaned. The defense lawyers, appointed by the tribunal to ensure a fair trial, argued that Tekvar had been following military orders during a security operation. But the evidence was overwhelming. The attack had targeted civilian areas exclusively, with no military objectives. This was not a security operation, Prosecutor Dr. Dong Hyun Yang explained to the court. This was a massacre designed to terrorize innocent people. The defendant ordered his soldiers to kill families and children to make humans afraid of his empire. The verdict was unanimous. Commander Tekvar was found guilty on all charges. The 17 officers who had participated in the attack received sentences ranging from 20 to 50 years in Galactic prison. Tekvar himself was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of release. But the trial was about more than punishing the guilty. It established new laws that would protect civilians of all species. The Hyunwoo Protocols made the targeting of non-combatants, especially children, a crime against all galactic civilization. No child of any species should watch their parent die defending them from military attack, Judge Kang announced, as she signed the new laws into Galactic Code. These protocols ensure that such crimes will always face justice regardless of which species commits them. The political effects of the trial rippled across the galaxy. The Vorthak Empire, Humiliated by their defeat and the exposure of their war crimes, began internal reforms. Emperor Gekvar was overthrown by moderate factions who wanted to avoid future conflicts with humanity. Other species took careful note of what had happened. The Nixari Collective increased their trade partnerships with human colonies. The Stellar Federation invited Earth to join their defensive alliance. Even proud species like the Caltherian Empire sent diplomatic missions to learn about human technology and culture. But the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed humanity itself. The peaceful traders who had seemed weak and vulnerable were revealed to be the most advanced military force in known space. Every species now understood that humans preferred peace but were capable of devastating war when their families were threatened. Admiral Mireille Kim, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, spoke at the Military Academy on Mars about the lessons learned from the crisis. "We never wanted to reveal our full capabilities," she told the graduating officers. "For 25 years we built these defenses hoping we would never need them. But when Commander Thekvar attacked innocent families, he forced us to show the galaxy who we really are." A young cadet raised her hand. "Ma'am, do you think other species will try to attack us again?" Admiral Kim smiled grimly. "Not in the same way. They've learned that threatening human children brings consequences they can't handle. But we must stay ready. Peace is something we have to earn every day by being strong enough to defend it." On Earth, President Jae Sung-cho signed legislation that created the Civilian Protection Corps, a new military branch dedicated specifically to defending non-combatants in any future conflicts. Never again would human families face attack without immediate protection. The memorial to Hyunwoo Park and the other Kepler station victims was built in Geneva, next to the Galactic Justice Tribunal building. Visitors from across the galaxy came to read the inscription written in dozens of languages. They died protecting their children. "We live protecting all children. This is the human way." So Young Park, now 10 years old and living on Earth with her aunt, often visited the memorial. She had decided that when she grew up, she wanted to serve in the Civilian Protection Corps, defending other families from the kind of attack that had killed her father. "Daddy always said his job was to study alien plants," she told her aunt during one visit. "But his real job was protecting me. Now it's our job to protect everyone." Admiral Soo-jin Park, watching her niece place flowers at her father's memorial, felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Hyunwoo's death had changed everything, showing the galaxy that humanity would go to any length to protect innocent lives. The transformation of galactic politics continued as other species adapted to the new reality. Trade negotiations now included detailed protections for civilian populations. Military conflicts between species became rarer, as everyone understood that attacking non-combatants would bring swift retaliation from human forces. Dr. Young-sik Bae, now head of the Galactic Peacekeeping Research Institute, worked with alien scientists to develop better methods of resolving conflicts without violence. "The best way to protect families is to prevent wars from starting," he explained to his mixed species research teams. The Vorthak Empire, under new leadership, began paying reparations to the families of Kepler station victims. They also implemented new military codes that strictly forbade attacks on civilian targets. Their military academies now taught courses on human history, helping their officers understand why humans responded so strongly to threats against their children. Commander Haewon Nam, now captain of the patrol ship Guardian's Promise, led routine missions through trade routes that had once been dangerous for human civilians. Her ship and others like it ensured that merchant families could travel safely without fear of attack. "The galaxy is different now," she reported to Admiral Kim during a routine status meeting. "Alien species go out of their way to protect human civilians. They know that even one incident could bring the entire Terran defense fleet down on them. But humanity had learned lessons too. The revelation of their true military strength had changed how other species interacted with them. Some alien races were now afraid of humans, seeing them as potential conquerors rather than trading partners. Ambassador Dr. Yang worked tirelessly to rebuild trust with species who had been frightened by humanity's display of power. "We don't want to rule anyone," he explained in countless diplomatic meetings. "We just want our families to be safe. Help us protect all families, and we'll never need to use our weapons again." 10 years after the Kepler station attack, Captain So-young Park took command of her first ship, the destroyer Hyunwoo's Legacy. At 28, she had followed in her Ant's footsteps and become one of the youngest starship commanders in human history. Her first mission was to escort a diplomatic convoy carrying alien children to a cultural exchange program on Earth. As she watched young beings from a dozen different species playing together in the ship's recreation areas, she thought about her father's sacrifice and how it had changed the galaxy. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a message from Vorthak Space. It's from the new Emperor Kethaval." The message was simple but significant. "To Captain Park and the human convoy, the Vorthak Empire wishes to express our gratitude for protecting our children during